Villainous Wealth. Oh my. That's a bad card. X10. It's gonna happen twice. That's so many cards. Today on Commander Replay, we check out some budget upgrades to the Wyleth Arm For Battle Precon Commander deck, next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Wyleth Soul of Steel today, and we are looking at upgrades to the Arm For Battle Precon deck. Take a look at this opening hand. I think it's keepable based on this being a land. Hopefully we catch a third land off the top and we can hang on to this one, but Boros Signet I think makes it reasonable. Explorer Scope gives us a chance of getting more land, so I think that's all good news. Let's go ahead and keep that. So today's game is going to be a bit more casual to mid-power. It's not going to be crazy strong, although Child of Alara at the table. Child of Alara is not the best. We have swords in hand, though. We can shoot it one time before it does its thing, hopefully. Into a turn 1 Soul Ring. Not what you want to see when you're playing not the strongest deck ever, and you're on a budget. Anyway, so I did a bunch of testing with this deck last night, was having a little bit of trouble with it. I've retooled things a bit right here. I've upped the equipment count. I've reduced the creature count from where I was last night. The Precon comes with 11 creatures, I think. I got myself up to about 16 at one point just because there's a lot of creatures that I like, but that wasn't feeling quite right. I was getting a lot of creature-heavy draws, not running into equipment, and that was kind of bad, so reworked some of that stuff, testing it out here. We'll see how it goes, but I'm also going to do a deck tech for this, so I'm going to film the deck tech after the game and hopefully should have more insight about what things I want to see in the deck and what things need to be in there, what things don't, all that sort of stuff. One of the issues I was actually having yesterday is I had planned doing the budget upgrades for the deck. It wasn't the budget that was the problem, it was the number of cards I wanted to change. In my first draft, I wanted to change like 42 cards in the deck, and when you think about the fact that there's only 61 playable cards in the deck, I'm like, that's most of the deck. So I'm like, all right, we got to rein it back some. So in this iteration, I think it's somewhere around 25 or 30 changes. So that's about half of the playable cards, and that feels a little bit better to me. So anyway, brings it to our turn 1. There's an Open the Armory. That is an upgrade for this deck. We'll go ahead and play the Sejiri Shelter as a land. So Sejiri Glacier, it comes in tapped, and we'll pass like that. I do like to try to hang on to those as long as I possibly can. Ooh, we have Shatter Skull Smashing also. Just noticed that one in our hand too. I wish they looked just a little bit different. The whole little thing at the bottom there, I wish that was just like a little bit more prominent. When you look at your hand quickly, it doesn't necessarily register that it's a land. Something I'm going to have to get used to. I know they've been out for a little while now, but it's a little bit weird on the eyes. Lands look very distinct. You're used to seeing them. You can count them very quickly when you look at your hand, and just requires that a little bit of extra thought right there. Yep, opponent up to some stuff. Aphemia coming into play and follows it up with a Wishclaw Talisman. Has 3 counters on it. A card that is strangely CEDH playable. Who would have saw that coming? So like I said, we are playing Wyleth Soul of Steel. It is 1 red-white for a 2/2 with trample. Whenever it attacks, draw a card for each aura and equipment attached to it. Pretty cool. That's Boros card draw. And I do really like that they put Aura Voltron support on there as well, because they didn't necessarily have to do that, but it was also an easy thing to tack on. You just literally added 2 words to the card, so I do like that they included that as well for the Aura Voltron players out there that wanted a little bit more support, so pretty cool. That brings it to our turn 2. We draw into a mountain. Okay, yeah, play the mountain, play a Boros Signet, get a little bit of ramp going. And next turn we can cast our commander, drop in the Explorer Scope, and following turn after that, do some attacking, maybe take a look with Open the Armory. The other thing, too, is that maybe we can hang on to the Open the Armory depending on how things go. Ideally, if we can save it for, like, Sunforger. Sunforger will carry us through the late game, and that's a pretty big deal, so if Explorer Scope can carry the early and mid game for us, get us a little bit of ramp, that will be nice, get us those extra card draws. All good stuff. Ooh! Opponent played a Steel Overseer on their turn, and then Ponycorn shoots it with a Cursed Flesh. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1 and has Fear. What? Can activate the Wishclaw Talisman. Gives it to Banana. I don't know how I feel about the Child of Alara deck having that. Puts a Dark Favor on Aphemia. Now they've got themselves a 5/2 flyer. Yeah, it's coming out pretty aggressive. We could shoot it if we have to, but it doesn't look like it's causing any problems yet. Maybe someone else will take the liberty to blow it up. Oh yeah, opponent exiles the aura that was in their graveyard, the enchantment, and gets themselves a 2/2. Yep, I see what's up. I'll tell you what, after playing the Aphemia deck one time, all of the Boros tricks that I love, Mask of Memory, Dowsing Dagger, Sword of the Animist, all fantastic with Aphemia. I know mono black doesn't tend to need to rely on that stuff as much, but you've got a 2-mana flyer, load it up with the equipments, get all that free value, don't spend the life drawing cards if you don't have to. Mask of Memory, so good, especially in a black deck too. Dump things into the graveyard. Aphemia cares about the graveyard, but also you can just like reanimate stuff, animate dead, all those types of things. Soul Ring for the Child of Alara opponent. Yep. Unbound Flourishing. Whenever you cast a permanent spell with X in its mana cost, double the value of X. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell or activate an ability, if it has X, copy that ability. That's the X doubler. Yep. Alright. That is interesting. That's a Volcanic Fallout. You know what that does? That kills these two. Slows that right down. A thing that I don't love is that Wyleth is 2 toughness. They kind of got off to a quick start here with the Soul Ring. I'm actually thinking about going Volcanic Fallout just to slow this down. Yeah, so play the Mountain. Play the Explorer Scope. Maybe it's not that bad yet. Let's cast our Commander, then. I think it's manageable. If we find another equipment and just get another toughness on Wyleth, everything will be fine. Although if they pump this up again on their turn, then it's out of Volcanic Fallout range, and that'll be annoying, but we'll see. We'll see. So Wyleth into play. Do want to get that card draw going. Ooh, Urza's Power Plant. Yeah. Opponent's going to activate the Talisman once again. Gives us the Talisman. Seems only fair. Everyone else has had a crack with it. Is it all out of counters, though? I think it's all out of counters. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I don't think we can do anything with it. Well, that's unfortunate. Opponent casts a Bag of Holding. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. Tap 2, draw a card, then discard. 4, tap it. Sacrifice, return all cards exiled with it. Yeah. Oh, yep, they pumped the toughness. Ooh, and it can regenerate now, so out of Volcanic Fallout range. Still got the Swords to Plowshares. We'll see what happens, though. Sean tapped a red, and I thought he was going to Lightning Bolt it for a second, and that would have been awesome. Alright, so it's Aphemia or a Voltron. I see what's up. When it's put into the graveyard, destroy target non-black creature. That's not great, now that has ramifications for us. Don't love it. Probably means swords. Gonna keep swinging at Child of Alara. That's a pretty good idea. Up to 11 commander damage. That is quite a bit. On the other hand, I don't want them to do anything rash, like blow up Child of Alara. That would be annoying. That's an Exsanguinate X4, so just gonna gain a bunch of life. Oh, it's gonna be doubled. Yep, there's 2 of them. So that's gonna be X8. Gonna give them a lot of life. They're up to 52. I wasn't gonna attack them initially because Aphemia had been poking them away, but I guess we'll send a little bit over in that direction now. Put the Explorer Scope on Wyleth. We'll swing into Banana since they've got a lot of life. Got a doubler in play. Here's that age-old question. Do you put the draw trigger on top or do you put the Explorer Scope trigger on top? We haven't played a land yet, so it probably doesn't really matter either way, but I'm going to go Wyleth on the bottom. It's a Thran Dynamo. So then we draw a Thran Dynamo. Are we using our Shatter Skull as a land? Probably going to have to. Yeah, as much as I like the removal, I mean, there's a Child of Alara at the table, so we're going to play Shatter Skull the Hammer Pass as a land. Oh, we can pay 3 life to go untapped? Yeah, alright. Then we'll get Thran Dynamo. Sets us up for a big next turn. And we'll pass like that. So one of the big questions that has come up for a lot of people, I think, is do you run Wyleth as the commander or do you run Akiri as the commander? In my early testing so far, I'm on Team Akiri. Right now, I'm noticing a couple things to be big difference makers. That is the fact that Akiri doesn't care which creature is equipped. You can still draw with it, and that's relevant if you just cast Akiri, it doesn't have haste, and you still want to get the draw off of something that's already equipped. Where Wyleth, everything has to be attached to Wyleth to get that card draw. And the second thing is, the indestructible ability on Akiri gives you a lot of utility, really opens up a lot of space for that deck because you can go pretty heavy with the board wipes. Last night, I discovered some interesting trickery. I was playing this deck, but it dawned on me that Akiri gives indestructible to things. If you play Protector of the Crown or Palisade Giant, you no longer care about damage. You can so easily protect yourself from damage by giving those 2 indestructible, and Wyleth just doesn't do that. So it also means that, like, I had a harder time picking out removal for this deck because all of our board wipes are going to hit Wyleth, and that's not ideal. And speaking of not ideal, opponent just dropped down this Maze of Ith, and, like, there's a very small number of cards in our deck that can beat Maze of Ith, so that's not great. Also got themselves an Ashnod's Altar. Aphemia over to Sean. Yeah, this seems like a Maze of Ith play. But yeah, even though Akiri and Wyleth both seem pretty similar on the surface, I've noticed that the deck I could build with Akiri was just more consistent, felt a lot better. Wyleth has been feeling pretty narrow to me. So if you had to ask me which one I like between the two, I've been on Team Akiri. We'll see how this game goes, but, you know, I really just like having that indestructible ability that Akiri gives you, and Wyleth does not give you the same thing. Damnable Pact. Target player draws X cards and loses X life. Gonna target themselves. Alright. The life gain play that they made makes sense now. Also an Urborg in play, so they're gonna draw 10 cards and lose 10 life. They do not have a Reliquary Tower, so they're gonna have to discard to hand size. Down to 40. Up to 14 cards. I think they've already played a land, so really trying to set themselves up for future turns. It's a Relentless Assault. That's a cool card. Probably still a little ways away from that, though. You know, tough call right here. We could go open the Armory to try to get an extra card draw on Wyleth, and maybe that's not the worst idea, but we don't have a lot of equipment tutors in this deck, so, like, you want to be really careful about this. I think I'm going to hold it, actually, because I don't have a lot of the normal things. Like, we can't just easily draw into another equipment tutor, so... Yep, can't do anything with the Talisman. It's all out of counters. That's unfortunate. So I think we just take a little poke. I'm going to poke over at Sean real quick, just because his Maze of Myth's tapped. I'm going to go Explorer Scope on the bottom this time. Blasphemous Act and Explorer Scope. Blazing Sunsteel. Having trouble finding the lands. That's unfortunate. Blazing Sunsteel with Blasphemous Act will be pretty cool. There haven't been a lot of creatures in play yet, so I think I'm just going to lay down Denitha. I guess it also means we just tutor for Sunforger right now, get that out of the way. Definitely not going to cast it since we can't leave up the mana to protect it, so... we've got 3 red mana left. We can Volcanic Fallout, but it doesn't really do anything good, so... I guess we're just passing like that. Rebbec, Architect of Ascension coming in for opponent. We haven't even taken a look at our opponent's decks, really, so... Milk and Cheese 1, piloting... Rebbec, Architect of Ascension, who we just mentioned. Artifacts you control have protection from each converted mana cost among artifacts you control. It partners, and it's partnered with Alena, Kessig Trapper. First strike, tap it to add an amount of red mana equal to the greatest power among creatures you control that entered the battlefield this turn, and it partners. They said this is their first time out with the deck. It's an exploratory deck. They're just doing some testing to see if they can get it to work, so it may or may not do great things. We'll see what happens. We've talked about Aphemia a little bit, being piloted by Ponycorn Smasher. Looks like they're doing an Aura Voltron kind of thing. Gonna send one our way. Yep, there's 6 in the air. Don't love it. Don't love it. And then finally, Banana piloting Child of Alara. And it looks like they're doing X-Spell Tribal with Unbound Flourishing, so that's a thing. And so, taking a look at our board state right now, this has kind of been my experience with the deck, and right now I'm running about as many equipment and auras as I think you're really going to want to run. I'm north of 20. Going to 30 doesn't seem right, in my opinion. I mean, unless we just, like, completely cut creatures out of the deck. And there's not a lot to begin with. I think, how many do we have? We have 9 creatures, so that's already really low. And I've just had this problem of sometimes you don't draw the things you need when you need them, you don't catch your equipment early, and it just slows things down a lot. You're not drawing cards the way you expect to be. And, you know, it's turn 6 right now. We've ramped a bit, and that's good news, but we're not presenting, like, a really impactful board state at the moment. We basically have, like, 2 small value creatures, a Thran Dynamo, and another Mana Rock, so, like, sure, we've set up for the late game a little bit more, and Sunforger can certainly carry us, but it doesn't play fast and aggressive like you might expect it to. Like, you kind of expect to be out there early and just drawing a million cards, and that just hasn't been my experience in, like, 4 games now. And part of it might be that I'm running the budget version of it. Like, if you add Steel Shaper's Gift and Enlightened Tutor, you can get a lot crazier with things, right? So that's more equipment tutors. Enlightened Tutor can also get you Soul Ring, which will speed you up a lot. Oh no! Release the Gremlins, destroying all of our ramp. That's bad. Well, now they're getting attacked. And they're going to double it. Now they are getting attacked. We need to catch an untapped land off the top to be able to cast and equip Sunforger. This, by the way, is why you do not play an unprotected Sunforger, because it would certainly get blown up right here if we just ran it down there and couldn't keep up the mana to protect itself. But I would have been much happier if we could have Boros Charmed in response to that, because that was painful. Thran Dynamo is a really powerful magic card, and it's gone. Well, it's also got themselves an army of 2/2s now, which is a little bit scary, although I guess we can Volcanic Offering that, but again, Volcanic Offering still hitting our stuff too, so... Evolving Wilds is a tapped land. That makes me so incredibly sad. Ugh. Oh, wait, it comes in as a swamp. Yeah, nice. Someone's got an Urborg. Fantastic. So we can play a Sunforger. Let's go ahead and play the Sunforger. Actually, no. Are we still short? Yeah, we're still short. I'm an idiot. Because 2 to cast, 3 to equip. Yeah, and then it's just sitting there. What's the likelihood that we untap with it? Doesn't seem great. Doesn't seem great. See, here's the problem. Because we haven't put like any cool equipment on Wyleth, these 2/2s block it and kill it. And that's not great. I've had this problem too where I keep drawing like the removal half of the deck. I'm not running like absurd amounts of removal, running like 5-ish board wipes. We've got most of them. I'm going to gamble that that was the only artifact removal. We need to get more things going right now. Like, we're just not doing enough. So at least getting 2 card draws might hopefully get us some lands. We keep missing the lands. I'm going to attack Sean because I don't think he's going to block with his commander. He'll probably just Mazavith, and that would be fine. We've already hit a land, so we don't want to draw a land. I'm going to go Wyleth on the bottom. Yep, they're just going to maze it. That's fine. It's on Sarah's Wings, and then we draw on Sarah's Wings. Ooh, and Winds of Wrath. Again, missing all the lands, though. This has been an issue. Oh, they are going to block. That's not going to matter, though. They mazed it. Winds of Wrath, not great for this Aphemia. Alena into play. Yeah, and here's another thing that I'm not loving about this deck is that, like, I want to put stuff on Denitha for the lifelink because our life's starting to get a little low, but we lose the card draw if we do that. Opponent's going to put a Torture on our commander. Don't love it. I'm going to let them know right now they don't want to kill that. Going to send Aphemia over to Banana. Yep. Sean says, these aren't the equipment you're looking for. No, I really want a Sword of the Animus, but they expensive. But I don't know, based on the thing I talked about earlier of like, I needed to reduce the overall number of cards that I was changing, it makes sense to have a lesser number of more expensive cards. So Sword of the Animus probably make its way in. Funny story, if we attack with Wyleth, this is an enchantment that'll get us an extra card draw, which we badly need. Yeah, another issue I've noticed with the deck too is the ramping, and like, I've added some, but I guess our ramp got blown up, so that's what we're really feeling. But yeah, the ramping just, it's not exactly what you want it to be. And that's part of the reason that I ended up trying to change so many cards, is that the removal was kind of subpar and the ramp was definitely lacking. And that causes you to have to make a lot of changes, so. And then there's also kind of the interactive portion too. I was experimenting with like Archon of Emeria, God Pharaoh statue, Hushbringer, just a couple stacks pieces to slow opponents down because, you know, like we're looking at a value deck over here. Throwing an Archon of Emeria their way should give them some fits. Hushbringer is good against a lot of things. Just something that forces your opponent to have to interact with something that's not your commander is a really good idea. Banana's got a bunch of mana tapped up. I'm sure this is going to be bad. Villainous Wealth. Oh my. That's a bad card. X10. It's going to happen twice. That's so many cards. Well, at the very least, we have a handful of board wipes, but they only hit creatures. So that's a thing. There's Iroas Neheb, All That Glitters, Mirror Battlesphere, and Liquid Metal Coating. Yep, that's some stuff. He's splitting it between the 2 opponents, by the way. Actually, that's probably what this deck needs in Iroas. And Villainous Wealth off Aphemia gets Sinister Concoction, Death's Approach, and Hateful Eidolon. Interesting. Oop, that's a 15 shot over to Aphemia. It's got Menace on it. Ooh, can't block. That's going to hurt. Oh, and that's 15 red mana in their second main. Hopefully they can't do anything with it. 5 color deck. Grim Monolith. So opponent played a Burn from Within, getting rid of the Aphemia. Didn't want any part of that. Also gets themselves an Everflowing Chalice kicked 6 times. They have a lot of mana. Oh, there's Boros Charm off the top. Nice. We don't even have to pay to activate Sunforger. That's actually kind of cool. Unfortunately, +1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. These are all artifacts, so that actually die as a result of Blasphemous Act. Okay. I think we've got a plan. It's going to be Boros Charm, followed by Blasphemous Act. So that cleans out the board, and we're the only ones left with creatures. That's actually pretty nice. Let's go to combat. Both into Banana, since he's still got a bunch of powerful things, lots of mana. Still got the doubler. Now as an Iroas. I guess I'll go Explorer Scope on the bottom. We're going to draw 3. There's the lands, finally finding them. See if we can hit one with Explorer Scope. Nope, it's Deflecting Palm. Well, Deflecting Palm is cool too, but I guess I'm going to play the Boros Garrison because we are a little bit light on white mana. I'm going to crack the Evolving Wilds in response. Actually, I might bounce a Mountain again because we're light on white, so get a Plains. And yeah, we'll bounce a Mountain. Oh, actually, we could have picked up Sajiri Glacier. Crap. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. We could have also picked up Shatterskull. Oh, I forgot. Still getting used to these. That is a thing that you can do, and that's actually a reason to keep running the Boros Bounce lands, because they had been falling out of favor for me a little bit lately. They've been getting a little bit clunky. Yeah, I really wish I picked up Sajiri's Shelter right there. Whoops. What are we discarding? Volcanic Fallout still kills all of our stuff, so I think we can get rid of that. Are we ever actually going to have time to untap this Myriad Landscape? I don't think so, or at least activate its abilities. So I think I want untap lands as much as I can. Immortal Sun for opponent, good card. Aphemia back to play. Opponent's going to use Sinister Concoction on Aphemia. Wants no part of that. They are at 17 commander from the Aphemia, so that's a thing. The next thing to worry about is that, like, if they just hardcast Child of Alara, although I guess we have the swords for it. Hydra Broodmaster into play. That can make some tokens. A little bit nervous about that. Whew, it's got a lot of mana in the pool. Gonna make a permanent and an artifact. It's already an artifact. I think they're out of green mana. They didn't have enough green to do that all in one shot. Excellent. So they passed like that. We're gonna get a good crack at things right here. There's a Spirit Mantle. That's a cool card. Play the Mountain. I want to get this on Sarah's Wings going, because lifelink. Now it's a 7/3 Flying Vigilance lifelink, and we could potentially take an extra combat. Opponent has 8 commander damage on them. 14 more would kill them. Yeah, maybe that's how we're doing this. Send it into Banana. Explorer's Scope. There's a land. Mistveil Plains, finally hitting. I think that's our third? Is that our third or fourth Explorer's Scope trigger? It's probably been more than that, honestly. It's been in play for a while. There's Tenza, kind of late to the party. And another extra combat spell that's actually really helpful. I say we try to finish them with a Relentless Assault. Gonna poke pony with the 2/2. Send it in and try to finish them. Draw more cards. Explorer's Scope. There's Tiana Land, Soul Ring, Abrade, and there's a Wear Tear, so that'll stay put. Opponent goes down, 22 commander damage, very nice. Our other two opponents aren't nearly as far along in terms of mana production and everything else. Having lots of mana like that is very scary, so our other two opponents should be much easier to deal with. They can still get us. I mean, they can just tick down this torture a few times, and I don't think we have great answers for that, so. Also, various types of board wipes would be a problem for us. We have a lot of cards in hand. We're up to 13. I do need to get some Reliquary Tower type stuff in here. This does happen in this deck periodically. Tiana, I think we can get rid of. That's 2. We have Austere Command, so Abrade. I'll get rid of the Relic Seeker. Get rid of single combat. Spirit Mantle is very cool, but we'll give up on it. So our hand looks like that. Land, Soul Ring, Tenza, board wipe, extra combat, board wipe, more removal. Feel pretty good about that. I'm thinking, like we've been staring at this Denitha all game and we just don't want to put equipment on it. I'm thinking really dropping the creature count low in this deck. Because again, the incentive is just all on Wyleth. Hazard's Monument. Alena Kessig Trapper. Aphemia into play. We are about to untap with the Sunforger. I feel pretty good about that. Also, they tapped out their mana, so they can't blow this thing up right now. Wear Tear. Could be helpful. Play the Mountain. Play the Soul Ring. Activate the Sunforger. Generous Gift on Mazavith. Re-equip Sunforger. I think we have enough to go for Tenzo right here. And leave up exactly one Sunforger activation. Send in Wyleth to Sean. Captain's Claws on top. We draw a whole bunch of things. Yeah, so like at this stage of the game, this is where you want a Reliquary Tower or a Thought Vessel. Opponent takes a hit for 10 commander, down to 16. Yeah, we're just going to sit on all of our tricks. 10 cards in hand, needed this card. Terramorphic Expanse. I think we can do without Captain's Claws. Captain's Claws is really in there for like Fleshbag Marauder type stuff. Just to have some bodies to block with is really the goal of Captain's Claws. And I don't know, maybe it's not good enough, but one more. Mob Rule's our finisher. I guess Winds of Wrath is still pretty cool. Wear Tear, I guess. Yeah, we've got to Return to Dust. Feast and Famine for opponent. That's a good one. We're up to 51 life, by the way. That lifelink coming in handy. Ooh, 7/6 coming our way. I mean, I think it's fine, actually. Doesn't have Trample. I guess we just throw Denitha in front. Demonic Embrace for opponent. Enchanted creature has 3/1 flying, is a demon. May cast it from your graveyard by paying 3 life and discarding a card. That's kind of cool. Demonic Appetite coming in. +3/+3. Yeah, it's an 8/5. Where do they want to send it? Gonna tick down our Wyleth a bit. Yeah. Ooh, coming our way. We've got Flying Lifelink Vigilance. No First Strike. First Strike is the one we want right here. I'm sure we've got something in the deck that will work for this. Deflecting Palm is pretty funny. Toughness 4 or greater. How's the toughness on this thing? It's 4 or greater. Valorous Stance. So Valorous Stance, the Aphemia, a card that's interesting, but always seems to be just like a little bit less good than I need it to be. It's a card that I've looked at in the past, and like, it's fine, but it always just seems to like miss a few more things than I really need it to. I don't know. Like, it seemed like it should be really good, and just, it's been fine. Like right here, totally okay, not a big deal, but maybe it's just because it's a one-shot. Like, you know, in Commander, a lot of times you really want to get like, I know we're getting farther away from this type of thing, but like Return to Dust is one card that blows up two things, right? So Valorous Stance is always kind of that one for one, which it has that bad card advantage kind of attached to it, but keeping your commander alive, especially when your commander is really important like this deck, is a big deal. So yeah. Does Mob Rule end it? The extra combat probably ends it. This has flying, opponents don't have flying. So if we probably re-equip the Sunforger, start with that. Don't have Double Strike. Double Strike, another thing we need. Ugh. I keep saying things we need. It's just like this deck needs a lot of things to operate. And like I talked about, that forces me into wanting to change like 45 cards in the deck. Opponent's at 21, so the first one would kill him. The second one, maybe we're just on sit on the protection. I guess get Heirloom Blade then. Opponent may just spend all their mana trying to tick this thing down. Send this over to Sean. Wyleth trigger. Explorer Scope trigger. There's a land. Found a lot of lands with that one. Oh my. Sean goes down. We're up to 65. Yeah, the double strike is the thing you want right here. We don't have it, unfortunately. We'll drop in this Bone Splitter, drop in Hero's Blade, and pass like that. Discard some lands, and don't appear to need to return to dust at this moment. Opponent's gonna -1, Ghoul Flesh on Wyleth, yep. Crippling Blight, -1/-1, can't block. Okie dokie. Down to 4 toughness, minus counter. It's getting smaller. This fortunately has some toughness on it. 2/2's coming our way, yeah, can't block. Just let that through, we're at 65. And a Flamekin Village. We'll drop in a Sunhome, and Sunhome Hero's Blade should do it. Send it. Explorer Scope, Wyleth triggers. A bunch of things. Haneware Battlements. Finally catching the lands late here with the Explorer Scope. That does happen sometimes. You really want to hit them early, but sometimes you have to wait to the late game, but they do help. I have turned the corner a little bit on Explorer Scope. It hits. It doesn't always hit when you want it to, but it hits enough that I think for a 1-mana equipment, especially in a budget build, I think it's reasonable. It's got Double Strike. Down they go. So this game was pretty casual. When you just kind of look at like the timing and where we were around like turn 6, a lot of games can escalate pretty quickly by turn 6, and we just plainly weren't doing enough at that point. Granted, we had a lot of board wipes and there weren't a lot of creatures at that moment in time, but I just didn't like where we were in the game. I didn't feel like we were proactive enough, especially in the early to mid game. It wasn't until like turn 8 or so that we were really able to start doing some stuff, and that's just slow. And you know, it's not to say we can't build a better version of this commander. I'm still working on a lot of things with this deck, but it has not blown me away in terms of what it can do. And maybe it's partly that I haven't found the right mixture of stuff yet. This is what I'm looking at right now. The curve's pretty low, little 3 heavy, a lot of stuff at 2, and maybe a little thin at the upper parts, but actually I think it was even more thin when the deck started. Being that I added Austere Command, Sun Titan, Mob Rule, and God Pharaoh Statue. Those are kind of your big late game plays. So still a lot to do. Like I said, I'm going to do a deck tech for this separately. I'm still going to tweak a few more things. I think I'm going to add a few more cheap enchantments into the deck because I think they can be valuable. So anyway, yeah, be sure to check out the deck tech. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching. I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below.